And we have made it home. A little over 400 miles one way. Good drive. According to the trip computer, our second tank, we were averaging 20.3 miles per gallon. First tank calculated at the pump was 19.3. So I'm pretty happy with that. A lot of that was at 70, 75 mile an hour, just doing the speed limit. Some of you are probably questioning why we decided to downsize from a Ford F-150 to the mid-size Colorado. And there's a couple of reasons. One of them is Sonia feels more confident driving a smaller vehicle versus a larger vehicle. I'm hoping for better fuel mileage. I like the ability to get in and out of parking lots and tight parking easier. It'll fit easier in our garage. As we downsize more, we don't need the massive tow power. This thing can tow up to 7,700 pounds. It has 310 horsepower and 430 foot-pounds of torque out of a 2.7 liter four-cylinder. Yeah, I guess this is about as good a time as I need to do just kind of a walk around. So let's pop the hood open. Hang on. Okay. This is the 2.7 liter. It's a pretty small little motor. I'm hoping that some of these other parts come off fairly easy so I can service some of this stuff myself. Like most new vehicles, you cannot check your automatic transmission fluid with a dipstick because there isn't one. I mean, there is for your oil. You got your brake, master cylinder, your coolant, your washer fluid, all easily accessible. The battery's easily accessible. The drive down from Idaho, it's been a good motor, good and strong, plenty of power. No complaints there at all. Front styling for 2025, they went away from the yellow bow tie and went with a black bow tie on the Trail Boss, which I really like. You can tell the whole front fascia is all plastic, which for me going hunting and doing some mild off-roading, that's going to be more durable. There's no chrome to worry about other than what's the small amount of chrome on the bow tie here. I think is the only chrome on the entire truck. It does have tow hooks down below. The hood is a little more bulbous than I think it needs to be, but it's got good style. It looks nice. The headlights look good. I might upgrade to LED headlights in the near future. It does not have fog lights. I don't know if I can even get fog lights for the Trail Boss or not. I'll have to look into that more. Comes with 18-inch rims, black wheels, standard. Black wheels aren't bad. I mean, would I have chosen something else had I had the option? Yeah, but I like them enough. They're just going to stay on there. They're actually going to be easier to clean than the Vision wheels that I had on the Ford. And let's shut the door here for a second. Pardon the dirt down the sides. The weather wasn't the best on the way home, but side, it looks pretty good, looks sharp. I really like this silver color because it's lighter in certain lights, darker in other lights. It almost like it changes shade of gray as you look at it. I really like that. It's got the capless fuel fill and it takes 87 octane. So I'm getting as good or better fuel mileage than I got in the Ford ever. And I mean, we stopped at the gas station today on the way home and it was $48.20. Yeah, we were just below half. Probably down to about a third of the tank left. But that's going to be something I will like getting used to, is less than $100 to fill up from empty, where the Ford with its huge 36-gallon tank was very expensive. But on the same token, it's a little bummer to have a 21.5-gallon tank versus a 36-gallon tank, because you could really go places with a 36-gallon tank. I love these side steps on the bumper. They're on both sides. I mean, most of you know on the Ford, I put that add-on step on later, which was really nice. I liked it, but having the built-ins there, really good. I like the grip of the plastic on top of the bumper. I've stood on it and it's very grippy, holds really, really well. I think the tow hook points on the hitch are easier to get to than the Ford, so that'll be nice when we're trailering. As you can tell, the tailgate goes down really, really slow. This is your base model Trail Boss. The only accessory or add-on that it has is the spray-in bed liner. That is it. Everything else is just comes from the factory. So it's got this really cool storage compartment on the back here. We actually use this on the way home for some of my stuff. It's fairly deep. It's got a little drain plug on it if it gets water in it, but it's got a seal. It's supposed to be watertight. Have not tested that yet. But what I also like is each corner has tie downs, top and bottom. I didn't notice that. I'm missing one of my little rubber caps. There's rubber caps filling holes. Looks like I'm missing the far one there. But I'll get a hold of Dave Smith Auto and hopefully rectify that. Also, Dave Smith Auto, by far the best new vehicle buying experience I've had, by far. If I ever do buy another new vehicle down the road, I will be, unless they're not in business anymore for some weird reason, I will be going back to Dave Smith Auto. Yeah, so not much else to report on this side. It basically matches the other side, just passenger instead of driver. The Trail Boss is lifted 2 inches from the factory, and it's got different A-arms, so the tires stick out a little bit further, hence the mud flaps. We'll see how these tires, these are factory tires, they're the Goodyear Wrangler Territory ATs, 265, 65 R18. We'll see how those go. They don't look all that aggressive. They are not Mountain Snowflake rated. I thought they were. I was wrong on that. They are Mud and Snow M&S rated, but they're not the Mountain Snowflake. So by Oregon statutes, they do not qualify as a traction tire for going over the pass in the winter, which is a bummer. Inside, I mean, it's basic black, nothing fancy at all. And the Canyon AT4 or something like that would give you a lot more premium interior, but we opted for the rubber Chevy floor mats. Of course, you got a glove box, decent size in there. I pulled everything out. The visors both have mirrors on them, which is kind of nice. The weird thing that Chevy does is these do not extend. They are solid, and I don't know why in today's day and age they would make a sun visor that does not extend. So we'll have to look at something to fix that. Pop in the back real quick. The back, I mean, I'm 5'11", and Sonia's seat's actually further back than my driver's seat. And I mean, my knees, if I put my knees forward, they touch the seat, but I don't sit like that when I'm driving or when someone else is driving. So I sit like this, and I've got room. The seats aren't like terribly uncomfortable. I mean, there's decent room in here. I don't know how long of a drive I'd want to do in here, but we do have vents on the back of the armrest, but no power points, no USB or 12-volt plug, none of that. Cup holders though, and no pockets on the back of the seats. I may look at some seat covers and some of the seat covers I'm looking at have a pocket on the back, so we may be looking at getting some seat covers for in here. But overall, the back seat's not too bad. The seat bottoms pop up and lock in place, which is nice. They lock down and lock up, which the Fords would lock up. They did not lock down. So if you had things stored underneath the seat, which we will have in the Ford, if you got into a bad crash or unfortunately a rollover, the seat bottom would just pop up and everything you have underneath there will come flying out. That's why I only stored like spare blankets, emergency blankets, soft things, towels underneath the seat, because I just didn't want things flying around. Pull the lever again, seat bottom comes back down, and then it locks in place so it doesn't come up. And we are looking at the possibility of getting side steps for it relatively soon, along with a tonneau cover. But steering wheel is fairly comfortable. It's not leather wrapped, it's just a plastic steering wheel, nothing fancy. It does have cruise control, but when we were at Dave Smith talking to the service manager before taking it home, he specifically said do not use the cruise control until you get after 500 miles. So the engine and the computer get to learn your driving technique, whatever that means. I haven't messed around too much with the hands-free or any of that. You got your trailer brake controller down here. I really like these vents. All you have to do is turn that handle and they close off, and they close off. I've had other vents you try to close and air still escapes. You close that and I don't feel any air coming through, so that's really nice. We'll go ahead and start it up here. As you can see from our trip, currently we're at 20.3. Oh, let me shut that off. There's multiple different settings on the dashboard. There is maps. There is other maps. Huh. I wonder if that first one was my my iPhone's map. And then you've got kind of an off-road. You've got similar to the first one, but it shows your closeness to vehicles in front of you, and right up there it will show you how many seconds you are away from them as well. We don't like that too much. This one is really, really plain Jane. Haven't used that one. That one's not too bad. Be interesting to know what else you can put over here. This is the one we like. And if you go to your vehicle is it vehicle status? I'm still learning this rig, but you can go to your tire pressure and you can add tire pressure to your driver display if you want that up there instead of the trip. And I really like that. That's kind of cool. I think for when we're towing, I'm going to be doing that screen instead of the trip, but that's what we like right now. But then you've got your center screen here. Lots of different features on this. We've messed around with a little bit. I really like the camera. Unlike the Ford, I can click on the camera while we're driving forward. If I think I forgot my safety chains on the trailer or something like that, I can pull up the camera and look. I can even zoom in while we're not in reverse, which the Ford would not let me do. I'll probably never use Alexa. I'll probably never use Google Assistant. I'll probably never use the Play Store. I do use Apple CarPlay. Got my phone set up for that. I'm using that. But I've been pretty happy with the responses and the controls on the computer. I do like that our truck comes with dual climate never had it before. Don't know what we'll think about it as we move forward, but you know, I can't complain about it. Sonia and I, oftentimes I'm hot and she's not, or you know, the air conditioner's too cold for her. We'll find out how. I mean, it's a small truck, so we're right next to each other. We'll see how well that works. Yeah, one of the things that really I liked about the Chevy is not only does it have 2 and 4 high and 4 low, but it's got 4 auto. And there's oftentimes we're driving across the pass and there's snow here and there. I'm gonna shut the engine off. And it's not like completely snow covered. And I'm popping it into 4 high, popping it out of 4 high, popping it back into 4 high as we're driving down the road. I can put this in 4 auto and I don't have to worry about it. The vehicle's computer and transfer case and all that, they do all that for me and I don't have to worry about it. As the base model of the Trailer Boss, this is not a charging pad. This is just a place to put your phone. You got to plug it in. And unfortunately, this is one thing I'll ding the Chevy for, is it's got one USB-C and one USB-A port here. And then in the armrest, it's got a single 12-volt cigarette plug style outlet. And that is it. There's nothing on the back of the armrest. That's it for your cables. So I'm probably going to look at a plug-in that might like expand that to 2 or 3 USB-A, because I've got so many more USB-A hookups than USB-C. But it is what it is. Comfort-wise is interesting. I don't think that these seats are as comfortable as our Ford F-150. The F-150s were softer, they just felt nicer while you're sitting in them. But I think these have better support. And why I say that is on a drive coming back from Idaho, we were in these seats just as long as the Ford seats. But when I get to the stopping point, my backside does not hurt or bother me as bad as when we got to stopping points in the Ford. So it's interesting to me that on one hand, I don't think they're as soft and comfortable, but I think they're more supportive in places where they need to be supportive. So I can't really ding them that much for that. Door pockets, they don't have much. You got room for a water bottle there. You've got a little bit of pocket there, but not much at all. And again, since this is the base model, all of your controls for the seat are manual. I did not learn until we got to our first night's stay in Kennewick, Washington. This raises and lowers the seat. By push down, it goes down, pull up, it goes up. And when we got the truck, this seat was, I think, in the full down position. I'm thinking this is awkward. It just felt more like a car. It didn't feel right driving. I could barely see over the hood, and I'm 5'11". I'm not super short. And then I realized that when we got to the motel the first night at Kennewick, it's like, hey, and I pumped it probably 10, 12 times and raised it up, and it's so much better. Sonia got into it to drive today. She thought it was so much better. So yeah, this is up and down. This is for the back, and then your front to back is the latch up here. Honestly, I know there's people that are going to say you got manual seats, but you know what? Manual seats rarely ever go bad. Electric seats, you have all the motors and everything else that could go bad. This truck is basic. It does not have a lot on it. I like that. It's very simple. It does not have remote start. It does not have the button on the handle. A lot of models will have a button. I think it's here or here. So when you leave, you can push it and lock it, or there's a pad behind. So when you walk up with your key fob and just touch the handle, it unlocks. Ours doesn't have that. I think it's more secure. I could be wrong. Security and electronics are getting better, but this is simple, old school. There's nothing here. There's no buttons to push. There's a key fob or a key inlet if you want to use the key. There's a key on the fob. Let's see, I got the fob here. Simple fob, lock, unlock, alarm. And there's a key that you can pull out here, a physical key, so that you can unlock the door, unlock the tailgate. Yeah, I mean, it's a simple truck. It looks really good. The more I see this color, the more I like it. We're really happy with it. We're super happy with Dave Smith. If you decide you're going to contact Dave Smith, look up Roman Ellis. He treated us right, got us a great deal. We got good money on our trade-in. Definitely can't complain about that. And got a truck that we wanted. And so far, we're super happy. We're glad we did this. Can't fit it in the garage yet because my trailer's in there. But once I get the Tidewoods running, we can keep it outside and put the truck back in there. But well, now that we've done a pretty decent walk around, let's get in this thing and take it for a drive. One thing I'll say, let's see if it'll show up on the camera. You see the red lights on the window. Those are the lights that come on and give you warning if the forward collision thinks you're going to hit something. I will say that the Ford's was on the infotainment screen and it was a different tone, and it took your eyes off of your dashboard and the road to look to see what was going on, because sometimes it happened so infrequently that alarm would go off that it surprised you and you weren't expecting it. Having the lights come up on the windshield like that, to me, is a much better approach than the Ford. But let me get my seatbelt on and we'll take this thing for a spin. All right, being the Trail Boss, we do have our different drive modes: normal, tow haul. Now let's see, what all does it have here. We've got off-road, we've got tow haul, terrain, and of course normal. And also that is your selector for 4 auto, 2 low, or excuse me, 2 high, 4 high, or 4 low. I do like having the 2-speed transfer case. That's one of the reasons why I was looking at the Trail Boss and not other models. Let's take this thing for a drive. So one thing I do like about this, the way it's geared and all, it's got a lot of low-end grunt. A lot of the torque power is right around the 1600 RPM level. So it's got a lot of low-end torque to it, which I think will be real beneficial towing. We were told not to tow for the first 500 miles. We're leaning more towards, let's see if we can't get it to 1,000 before we tow, which I think that's definitely doable. Some comparisons: the Ford had a 7,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating. The Colorado has 6,250 pound gross vehicle weight rating. So I didn't really lose too much. The curb weight, this is definitely lighter than the Ford was. And our cargo capacity, it went from 1,836 pounds on the Ford to 1,551 pounds for this truck, which I think 1,550 pounds of cargo is still a substantial amount of cargo, especially for a mid-sized truck. Towing, the Ford was rated to 12,300 pounds for towing. This is rated for 7,700 pounds towing. So we did lose 4,600 pounds of tow rating. But I will say this: we had a Rockwood Mini Light with a gross vehicle weight rating of in the mid 5,000 pound rating. It was a big trailer, and for someone like me who does not tow big things very frequently, for a half-ton truck, it was doable. I mean, we drove that thing thousands of miles. We drove it all the way from Oregon to Maine, down to Florida, and all the way to Texas before we traded it in. Is it doable? Yes. Does the gas mileage stink? Yes. Would I tow anywhere close to the max tow weighting on that Ford? Absolutely not. I think those levels are getting way too high, and even though Ford says it can tow a trailer that big, when you start figuring in tongue weight, rear axle weight, cargo carrying capacity, what do you have in the vehicle, how many passengers, you can quickly lose a lot of your cargo capacity, and I don't think that's safe. Horsepower rating and torque rating. The Ford, it was rated to 375 horsepower and 470 foot-pounds of torque. This is rated to 310 horsepower and 430 foot-pounds of torque out of a 4-cylinder. I think, I haven't done the calculations, but I'm thinking that even though I have less horsepower out of this, when you come down to horsepower versus weight of the vehicle, that they're going to be fairly similar, because this truck, yes, has less horsepower, but it also weighs less. But for the strength of the motor, no problems at all. Just driving, it's got a lot of pep. Just the other day, we had a slow vehicle in front of us that we had to get around, and not a lot of room to do it. It had a lot of pickup. We got around it really quick and easy. So it's more than adequate for us. Some things that we like better on this versus the Ford. The rear camera. The rear camera seems to be much sharper and clearer of an image than the Ford. And we've noticed that when we're driving in inclement weather, wet roads, that the camera lens seems not to get as covered as quickly. And it just, even with spots of moisture or dirt on it, it seems to give a much clearer image. We also took it out at nighttime, and both of us driving at night with these headlights, we feel that these headlights may not be any brighter, but they seem to angle towards the sides more, so you can see more of the sides of the road along with the road. So we think you can actually see better with these headlights. I'm still debating the idea of going to a brighter LED on this truck. Being the lower trim level, it comes with halogen bulbs, but we'll see down the road. Storage, I've got to give storage hands down to the Ford. The door pockets were much bigger, you could put more in them. The underseat storage in the back, much more room. I rigged up a pull rope so that I could pop down the back of the big part of the rear seat, and we had enough storage behind the seat to put a backpack with some extra gear in it, and a jumper box, and it actually fit quite a bit behind the seat, let alone underneath the seat. So hands down, the Ford has so much more storage than this thing has. This will be adequate, this will work for us, but I got to give it to the Ford. Also, the rear floor. The rear floor on the Ford, much bigger, much more room in it. You could easily sit 3 full-grown adults in the back of the Ford. You could fit 2 grown adults in the back seat of this. 3 would be very tight, and they better be good friends. The Ford also had factory bed lights with a switch, so that if you're outside the truck and you were loading or unloading the bed of the truck, there was a switch there in the bed, you could turn on the lights. This truck does not have those. I got to give it to Ford for that. The Ford also had a electronic locking rear differential, and to me, I like that better. This one has an automatic locking differential. It's I think it's called the G80, and it's been around for a long time, years and years and years, and it has shown itself to be usable. It's just, I like the idea of just pushing a switch and knowing that your axle is locked. The G80, it keeps track of if one tire is spinning too much, it will notice that, and it will lock up the rear end, but it does it automatic. And for certain applications that may be handier. that you're not having to think about it, but I like being able to push a button and have a locking rear differential, so I got to give that to the Ford. And touching on the Ford seats again, they were very soft. They felt very, very comfortable, and of course they were all adjustable, including lumbar support. These seats do not have lumbar support. These seats don't feel quite as comfortable, but like I touched on before, when you're on a longer drive, I think these I feel less fatigued in. Even though I say these are not as comfortable, these are still comfortable seats. To me, they were head and heels above the Toyota Tacoma. I know everybody has their own body style. Everybody's shaped differently, and I know some people will prefer the Toyota Tacoma over the Chevy. But for us, our style, our shape, the Toyota Tacoma was less comfortable, especially the back seats. The back seats of the Toyota were, in my opinion, very uncomfortable. But as far as just initial softness, I think the Ford just seemed softer and more comfortable, even though these are more supportive. And even the Nissan Frontier, they were pretty close to the comfort of the Chevy, but I still give Chevy the nod for comfort. Yeah. The big thing, I mean, Sonia, that was her big thing. She's already mentioned it once, where she really likes the size of the truck. It's easier to maneuver. When you look at the numbers, we're like 18 inches, over 18 inches shorter in overall length. Our wheelbase is 14 inches shorter in this, so the turning radius is a lot tighter. We're 7 inches narrower. And ironically, even though this is a mid-sized truck, we have about a 1/4 inch more ground clearance than the Ford F-150. So those measurements for us really fit our style. It's really nice to have a vehicle, so especially since it's our only vehicle, which the Ford was too, that Sonia feels much more confident driving, more confident getting in and out of parking lots, and just going around town. It doesn't feel as big, it feels more maneuverable. And look forward to getting it off-road. I just do mild off-roading, I don't do anything serious, but I'm looking forward to getting off-road and see how it does. It's nice having the 4-low on the 2-speed transfer case. I was looking at the Z71, but the Z71 does not have a 2-speed transfer case. It looked like, if I recall correctly, it was just the Trail Boss and the ZR2 that had the 2-speed transfer case. I could be wrong. But overall, we really like the truck. It rides nice, it rides smooth. It's nice getting into those tight parking lots. And yeah, we're really happy with it so far. I don't have a lot of traffic on the road here, so we're going to come to a stop. I don't have a stopwatch. I'm not going to time it, but just to give you an example, it's got some pick up and go. You push on that gas pedal and you can feel all 310 horsepower and 430 pounds of torque. But we'll get back home and we'll wrap this vehicle review up. Yeah, I know it's different. I know it's not what you guys are expecting, but we bought a new truck, and there's my walk around of it. Love it, happy with it. The wife is more confident driving it. We seem to be getting good gas mileage. It's also nice that the tripometer, the computer, when it calculates out your fuel mileage, the Ford always seemed to calculate high. In fact, the last 2 tanks before we traded it in was over 2 miles per gallon off of what the computer was saying, that the real miles per gallon were lower than what it was showing. This one, so far, every time we filled it up, the whole one time, it's shown higher than what the computer is telling us. And I like that. But we'll get some miles on it. We'll rack up some time with it, and I'll come back and give you an update and show you what we've done to it. Thanks for coming along.